Okay guys, we are here at Adrian's home and he has these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 KTM bikes here. I'm gonna ask him what he knows about the TPI bikes, and you can get a lot of nice information about these because he has had them quite a while now. So let's see what the man has to say. So, you have had these bikes for how long?
So basically I bought the bikes at the beginning of the year. I bought them from Germany, from a dealer from Germany. Before that, in November last year, I ordered my first TPI and I did some tests before I ordered the other ones.
How many hours you have on these bikes?
Because the bikes are for the rental side and I do the tours with them. It depends, but starting from 40 hours to 130 hours for the TPIs.
How long can you ride with one oil tank?
So basically what I noticed is that with one oil tank I can do like 6 fuel tanks. This is what I saw, and that means for Romania and riding that we do here, that it's a mixture between speed, rocks, technical, all the types of the riding in one day. You can do around 120 kilometers per day. That's safe. Sometimes I've pushed and I arrived maybe even 130, but I would recommend the 120 kilometers. You can stay safe. That in a normal riding, like you have some hard sections, some speed sections, some uphill, some all the mixtures you can do with the TPI. Let's say the only bad thing in a way, but good thing in another way, it's that I noticed that around 50 hours, some of the TPIs, I already had 4, they started to misbehave, like very strange. And at the beginning I was concerned, I was, got caught in all this discussion, TPI, electronics, and then I stopped myself and I remember that on the older models, when I noticed the misbehaving I had with the previous models, it was from a fuel filter, from the pump. So basically, the fuel filter that you have inside the tank attached to the pump, after around 50 or 60 hours, it gets black like this one inside. Then the bike starts to misbehave. In super low revs, you don't have enough power. On the other side, this is very good, because if this guy is stuck and it's not working anymore, this is protecting your injector. So this is a good sign, like, okay, it's not the most cheapest part in the bike, but we are all scared about injections and blah blah blah, all these things. But at the end of the day, this guy is saving the situation. So that's good, because when I saw in the first bike that this happened, I changed it, and then the bike was running perfectly. And the misbehaving was that on the low revs, the bike was not running perfectly at all. Then on high revs, it was, When you take this out, you can see from the filter that it's all black. That means it's stuck. So yeah, from one side, bad, but if you think a little bit, this is a super cool feature that really protects the injection system. Then about the oil, when I started to ride with the bikes and to use them, at the beginning I didn't know exactly what oil to choose. And I was discussing with a friend of mine who's a good mechanic, and he suggested to me, this technology, we have it on snowmobiles and ski jets and stuff like that. And those guys, they already have the oil for a injected engine, like the 2-stroke one, And why don't you try to use that oil? So I'm using that oil, and I didn't feel any strange misbehaving from the engine, and I'm already having, let's say, the hours from the book to change the piston. I didn't done it yet because the engine running perfectly. So, but this is up to everyone to decide this. I'm not saying that you shouldn't change it. I'm just saying that this is my experience with them, and for the moment I'm going to keep it like that. What I don't like about the oil part, I don't like the oil cap. Sometimes you lose oil because of this. And the cap here, the problem is that it should be a different system of locking this cap, because when you crash or when you flip your bike, it's all the time oil coming from this side and you lose oil. and it's making the bike dirty and losing the oil. And yeah, you should, or either look, because you have this loose movement here, you can see that it's not super well fixed, so I consider that this could be a nice feature to improve for the bike. And this winter I'm looking on some aftermarket products to change this.
So how about the gearbox oil?
Yeah, I changed the oil in the gearbox around 50 hours. So this is how I decided, and I think that's a good number. And everything works fine. The gearbox all the time works fine. And what I noticed is the clutch now on these bikes are so tough, because sometimes when we do hard enduro and we go to climbing super steep rocks and super difficult terrain, and you clutching all the time and you work that clutch, it's still working.
Yeah, so the suspension.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
What can I say? The first time when I jumped on the 2017 model, when I bought last year the 2017 model, I was so amazed about the suspension, because it was a huge difference between the previous models. But then when I jumped on the TPI, of course it's such a huge improvement, like in terms of everything. You can go into rocks, you can go into speed, you can do what type of terrain you want with this stock suspension. And it's so easy to adjust. Maybe some riders, they prefer much harder, much softer. Okay, we are using the suspension in a standard way, because I get different types of people on riding these bikes. Only if there are some heavy guys, they are putting more pressure to the suspension, or there are some guys that they prefer to have a hard suspension. But 90% of the guys, they are going on stock suspension, and the bike really does the job in every condition. But if you go racing, then it's a totally different aspect, and everybody should consider to set up and to do their suspension how they want. For the guys who really don't go racing and do the normal enduro riding, doesn't matter what terrain it is, I consider this is one of the best suspension on the market at the moment. What I see in the swing arm problem is that while it's scratching the swing arm, the surface is not round anymore, as you can see in the video, and that will gonna damage, and at one point you can lose your swing arm and destroy the whole thing, and I think that's a lot of money. So I see two solutions on this one. Either you put some spacers for the mudguard, either you buy a sock system that you protect this. But this is a feature that I noticed 2 months ago. Why? I didn't know about this, like I didn't get attention on this, but this winter I'm gonna solve this thing. And yeah, I think this is super important. Like.
So what do you think about the frames and the screws and the geometry of the frame?
I felt a huge difference about the geometry of the new frame, and the riding position is so different now, and you can feel that in the riding of the bike. And many of my customers said that the bike really feels so different to ride. What I noticed and what I found out, because I was using the aluminum skid plates, it's that you have the two points that you fix your skid plate in the frame, and then you have these holes that are starting to get loose after some period of time. I don't know if this happens to the plastic skid plates, but I talked with even other TPI owners, and they have all the same problem when they put the skid plate, because the two small holes where you screw your skid plate there are not so well welded, and then they start to unscrew and to break, and then it's impossible to put that back. Of course, this is because the skid plate that I'm using has these fixing points like directly into the frame. If you use other type of skid plates that it's going directly on the frame with a different system, that will not occur. But if you are using this style, you need to know about this. So yeah, what I think it's a super nice design of the frame, super good feeling, but I think this should be taken care of
How about all the usable parts, the brake pads, the sprockets? What kind of hours you are getting out of those?
You know, because the bikes are used by different users, it's good thing to notice that the chain and the sprockets, the original one, they last around 150 hours on the riding that we do here. The brake pads, it's not so easy to say that you can put a number, but what I noticed is that around 50 hours, especially the back brakes, I don't know why, but they are going so fast on that one. It depends on the riding, but let's make from all the bikes, that would be the numbers. 50 hours for the brake pads, 150 hours for the whole kit of chains and sprocket, and I consider that it's a lot, and I think it's good. I didn't expect that.
How about the grips, the handlebar grips?
Wow,
or the handlebar.
Wow, that's a big surprise for me, because the feel of the grip, it's so good, and they don't break. Like, they are still looking so good, and many guys are using this. And you know, when you use your bike, just you, it's one way of usage, but when many other guys are using different, then it starts to feel different. But all the grips are looking super. The only thing that you sometimes need to do on this system is to open and to clean it and to lube a little bit here inside all the time, and everything is perfect.
That's normal.
Yeah, that's normal.
About the electrics of the bikes, the starter, you said the starter works really well.
Yeah.
But how about all the other electric stuff that you have, the buttons or the cords?
So let's say that I didn't have too many electric problems. The most important one that I found this year, and it was 3 times it happened, is the stop button. Basically this part here. On some of the bikes started to misbehave, like sometimes running, sometimes no. So yeah, I had to change 3 of these this year. It's not a huge cost, but yeah, it's such a simple thing, you know. You need to stop your bike and the bike is not stopping, and then you need to stop the bike in the gear, and somehow it's not a nice feature. So this is let's say the biggest electric problem that I had this year.
Okay.
I didn't have any other.
So the batteries are already...
No, the battery...
The lithium
battery worked fine all the time. Can you imagine that one point I dropped in the water one of the bikes, and I was in the water, and yeah, for half an hour I had to wait and to drain, and then the bike started to run, and after 2 hours it stopped. I don't know, somewhere it did some problem. I left the battery a whole night, like without no charging, without doing anything, and in the morning it was running. So after 1 year of riding, then what can I say? Yeah, really good. It's important how you charge. I didn't charge any of them because I didn't need to, but it's good to charge them with a special charger for the lithium battery. Don't use the normal thing that you use at home for charging your car battery. So you should look for the one for the lithium.
How about the protection that you are running with this bike?
I choose
something about it.
Yes, I choose a wider protection for the part of the hands. This model, it was not the most expensive one, it was not the most cheapest one. It has some issues, as you can see on some of the bikes. Here it's starting to break. This is the breaking point of this model, but I will put back some plastics here, and they are still keeping it, and it's such a huge thing because it's so wide and it's protecting your hands, and you don't hurt yourself with this one. And what we are doing in Enduro, it's so hard to have the problem that you get your hand caught in this system. Of course, the pro guys, and they are using the normal plastic, they don't crash so much, you know, but the normal rider does a lot of more crashes than I have. One pair of this that I bought 3 years ago, and I'm still running them, but as I said, it depends how you ride and what you do and how you move. But I overall consider that it's a good protection to buy, and if it's break, this is the breaking point, you can easily fix it. and you can still run it, and they are not heavy at all. The aluminum part, it's so easy and it's such a simple system to mount, and you don't have, you know, like for all the protections in the market that they move all the time and you need to, no, it's a simple thing. You put some fixing plastic tape under the fixing point, and the screw that goes inside is super good. It's like long and it's very strong and keeps the protection all the time. So
yeah, I noticed that those are really,
yeah, and you don't have to stay with the key all the time, because there are some designs in the market that you always have to close and open them, but this is, I was so happy with this. For the bike, I'm using the aluminum protection, and it worked so fine this year. It was easy to manipulate this. It's not very heavy. I don't know, to tell you the truth, I didn't put on a weight to see how much this thing weighed. But in what we do, we need to protect the bikes, because otherwise, you know, just imagine everybody crashing or the bike will be destroyed. And then, as I told you, it has only two screws here and has a fixing point in the back. You can open this and it's so easy to clean. I never had to open this because of the holes are so nice made, and when you wash this, it has such a nice design to clean this, and everything is okay. So, yeah, I'm happy with this. As you see, I tried something new this year, and I put this grabber here. Some of the guys had some small complaints when they crashed, and when they got on the back on the bike, they hurt themselves here. But it's super useful when you have the bike down. It's easy. But for this, I'm gonna still mount the one in the back this year. I have them already. I'm gonna put them in the back to have it here. Overall, I discussed with my clients. Nobody really complained about this, because I talked to them and I asked them if they consider this can do some harm for them. Nobody was complaining. I myself am using for my bike as well, and sometimes I have some small bruises. I don't know what to say. If you find this useful, you can use it.
I find it like really useful.
Yeah, because you know, when the bike is down, it's so easy to grab it from here. You know, you don't have all that struggle to take the bike. So
yeah,
the price for this was not very cheap, but I find it very useful for my bike. I'm using the radiator protections. They were not the most expensive one. They were not the most cheapest one, and they did the job the whole year. Every time people crashed on the side, they didn't have any radiator broken in 1 year. So yeah, I think
hundreds of crashes.
Yeah, it's hard to count and to see, but if you can see on the bikes, and if you look on the plastics of this bike, especially all of these bikes, I'm super amazed about the quality of the plastic. You can crash how many times you want with these plastics and you don't break them. Like, this is so hard to break. The only issues that I had this year, it was that I had only one tail broken in the back and one subframe. You know, this new subframe, it's from plastic. It was not a big cost to change that. It's super easy to change, and to really break that one, you really need to turn your bike and to fly the bike. So that's not happening every day. So I think that's good thing. And the front plastics and the side plastics, they are so well, and the design is so good, because it's flexible. It's flexible, and it's so hard to crash this one. You know? And what I noticed, you know, because I was scared at the beginning, I was scared about the sensor here. I'm thinking now to mount an aluminium protection on this one. But during 1 year, as you can imagine, many people had crashes and had different style of crashes. It never occurred that we damaged this one. So what I consider, it will be better to put a protection on it, because you never know when you hit this one and then game over, and it's not cheap. I would highly recommend to put a protection on this one, even though I didn't have any problem, because the gear lever, this is one of the features that I really enjoyed so much on the new models, because I just had one to change this year. and they are so flexible, and the quality of the build is so good. That was very perfect. The cost of the gear changer, it's not big, it's not small, but you don't need to change that every day, so I think that's normal. One of the things that I noticed was the spring in the foot pegs. I had to change 4 or 5 springs in the foot pegs this year, because they are having a breaking point somewhere and they are breaking sometime, and I had to change them. I try to grease all the time there to keep them in a good shape, but as I know from previous models, they had this issue. But what I like, it's the wider foot peg, and it's giving you a really nice feeling when you ride a bike. The stand of the bike, I was very careful and all the time telling to everyone to be super careful, because I know from the past, from the previous model, it was a point where you can break this here. It has this breaking point here, but because I was all the time careful and I was telling people to be careful how they put the bike, because you should be careful how you put the bike in the forest, where you put to have a good angle. I didn't have any problem with this one, especially on the TPI. On the 254 stroke, I managed to break one. One of my customers broke one. One day, where I was struggling to start a bike, I understood that the best thing is to just push the button, the electro starter button, and don't touch the acceleration. So because in that moment, because you are used to touch the button and accelerate the bikes, maybe sometimes, I noticed that you press 1 time, 2 times, bike starts to run, but then stops again. And then I start, okay, let's see the choke, what the choke is doing in this situation, because I tried with the choke in the first trying and the bike was still not running. So my conclusion was, at the end, when it's cold, the best thing is to try with the button, no choke, no anything, and the bike could start and run or not. If you see 1 time or 2 times that it's not running with the choke, then you pull the choke. And when you pull the choke, the bike starts to run after 1 or 2 tries. I saw and I noticed this problem only when it's cold. Like during the summer, when it's warm, as you can see, I have 6 TPIs and they run all the same. I didn't have any difference between them, that one was working differently than the other one. They all had the same thing. The good thing is, at the end of the day, that if you do this and if you start in this way in the morning, then you don't have any problem with this, because I know that some guys were complaining about the start and there was some problem with this, and I understood that being a new technology, like for a 2-stroke engine, having this sensor, this different style of this, I said to myself that yeah, let's let the technology do her thing, and then yeah, I would prefer not to have this small, waiting, pushing the button, then to see if the bike starts, but it's only when it's cold. During the year, all the times when I started the bikes, doesn't matter, they all the time starting so good in the riding. It didn't have the previous model problems like with the e-starter, that you can hear noises or it misbehave or nothing. All the time running perfectly. So that's a super good feature for the TPI, I would say.
What is the conclusion of the?
So my conclusion is this: I really find a good balanced bike. Of course, it has its small issues. It's a new product. I think that's not. I wouldn't use the term normal, but somehow it's understandable. And overall, I'm super happy with the choice that I made, because having a rental company, you want to have your best for your customers, and the bikes are really delivering the best in terms of the riding and in terms of the quality of the parts on the bike, because I don't have to maintain them so much. I just do the normal maintenance and the bikes just work fine, and I'm super happy with this. And I'm not talking about 1, I'm talking about 6 bikes, so I think I think this is a good I think this is a good product, and I will highly recommend. if you want an enduro bike that maybe costs a little bit more than what it's with his opponents, but in terms of the quality, you can feel that. That's it. That's my true opinion.
Okay. I'm gonna thank you for this is really valuable, guys, and yeah, listen to the guy. Thank you, Adrian.
You're welcome.
Making an orange guest room.
Yeah, I forgot to put the table for the coffee here.
Yeah.
I need to put the table for a coffee here, and then we can do a party maybe. We can throw a party here.
So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.